Before we get into today's episode, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Open Doors, Open Mind YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and on our other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook and now TikTok. Links to all will be in the description below.
Hello guys, Jack again for episode 6 of Mind Over Chatter. It's been a while, but we are back. Obviously, the last couple of episodes were good. We had Josh Hill's nutritionist on, and we had the ramen guy, UFC fighter on. So today I am joined with a new guest, James Borden, who's come all the way from Hastings. So I really appreciate the travel, mate. Straight away, James, who are you? What do you do? And let's get going.
Okay, let's do it. Thanks for having me. It's nice to get away from home, I think, sometimes, just come and do something different, right? So I'm James Boardman. I don't really know where to start. So just in short, I'm a former Royal Marine Commando, served as a sniper and physical training instructor.
Wow.
Left in 2011, crashed and burned for three years. Then started my own business and just have evolved through that journey. Before joining the military, I was pretty much just lost as a young 20-year-old. I used to run a store. I was pretty much a store manager for McDonald's, looking after a £6 million store. And I didn't really know what I was doing. But going back even further, just completely and utterly was quite dysfunctional as a kid. Lost my dad at 6. Wow. Through as a heart attack, and then was brought up by an emotional bully of a stepfather. Pretty
rough ride.
Rough childhood coming up in terms of trying to figure out who I was, what was going on, and I've ended up here.
No, fair play. Can't get any better than that. The old Open Doors, Open Minds podcast. Yeah. Wow, that's straight off the back. That's a very sort of emotional roller coaster, really. Where would you like to start? Would you like to start about obviously losing your dad at 6, or would you want to start at the military or your time served?
I think it's always good to start at the very start of the story, isn't it? I think so. My dad died when I was 6, and the circumstances were that him and my mum had gone up to Blackpool, and they'd gone up to Blackpool to basically sign the contract to move home. So we were about to start a brand new life. We were living down on the southeast coast, and we were about to go back, and we were about to go up to Blackpool. And my dad had just got promoted, and we were about to start this brand new lifestyle. Back then, he was on super money, pressure, and everything else. And after dinner, they went to the hotel room, and he had a massive heart attack right there and then, and died within minutes. And obviously, the whole trajectory of my life, my mum's life, our life, my future just completely switched. We literally, I think for my ma, it was like the next day they were about to sign this contract for this brand new house. Now she was having to come home and somehow tell me that I was never going to see my dad again. So I think I didn't really realise the results or how that played out in terms of my mental state for the rest of my life until probably last year. It didn't twig, do you know? And I think it played a huge part in everything I went throughout my life until, last year when I was 43. And then it clicked, and I was like, that is the root cause of every mentality and mindset that I've kind of gone throughout the different chapters of my life. It's been mental, absolutely mental. Yeah,
because that's the thing. At such a young age, obviously, I lost my dad at 12, and at 6 and 12, you're not emotionally mature at all. You have no emotional intelligence, so you just sort of go, well, okay, and then you don't actually take it in, and then you sort of, and like yourself, I think grieving sort of, for me over the years, it's probably got worse slowly, because the realisation of, you get married, you have kids, you buy your first house, all these amazing things in life, your dad's not there to sort of to watch you basically become a man, become everything you wanted to be. So I think it is very tough, isn't it? It is.
I think so. I think so. I think what it does is highlights the need for a father figure, a role model within your life.
100%.
My mum remarried very, very quickly. I think it was almost a rebound, as she would admit. But number one, she never really handled. She pretended it didn't happen. She buried it, which meant I had to do that as well. You know, I never went to go and see a counsellor back then. I didn't even know if they were out and about in the early 80s, you know.
Sure.
Never really dealt with that trauma. And when you think about it, as a 6-year-old, you probably almost had feelings of abandonment. It was like, oh, my dad's just disappeared. Like, I don't understand what death really is. And then she met a guy, and he ended up being in our life for the next sort of 15 to 18 years. And he turned out to be a really emotional bully to me. And I think in terms of my self-worth, self-esteem, confidence, he pretty much slowly destroyed it through my life until the point I was old enough until I could bite back. And I think, again, those two things, the death of the dad and being around that negative influence, and in some ways really not getting the support that I think I should have had from my mum at the time. All of those contributions led to a mentality of, I'm always waiting for the next worst thing to happen.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking worst case scenario. It's very black and white. Always going through a position of never really believing in yourself and struggling mentally to deal with everything. Insecurity, always insecure. It's always been a problem in my life, and I think it all stems from that period of my life, for sure. And they're demons that end up lying dormant inside of you.
Yeah.
And then when you grow up and you become more mature and things start happening, they start coming up and start challenging your mindset.
For sure.
And your mental health and your emotional health. And you're like, where's this coming from? And like I said earlier, it was only last year that I went, it was quite peculiar actually, because I was hosting my seminar, about 100 people in the room. And it was coming to the end of my presentation of my day. And somebody asked me a question, and I just started talking, and I started unraveling. And in that moment, right there, in front of everybody, I had this epiphany and went, it's all come from my dad, like dying, like everything. And I just had this moment in front of everybody, and I was just like, oh, shit.
That's all those years, and then it just unravels. Bosh. Done. Yeah.
And it must have been something that triggered it. I was having a conversation with the guy. I think he was talking about his dad, and I was like,
yeah.
That's why I always think. That's why I always think worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Because
for
that
sure
is worst case scenario, losing your dad or losing your parent. As you know, I've got a 6-year-old daughter, and I've got 4 kids. One of them's 6, one of them's 2. My 2-year-old wouldn't remember me. She wouldn't know who I am. She you know, I know that my wife would bring her up, like showing her who I was, showing her videos.
It's not enough, yeah.
But she would never get to know me, or she'd never remember the cuddles or the love.
For sure.
A 6-year-old, I don't think she would she wouldn't necessarily remember. She would have sporadic memories like I do, very, very sporadic memories.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't. And then my 16 and 18-year-old, they would remember a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
But that then relationship goes, and it just shows how important it is for us to be able to show up as men and be role models, take care of ourselves. Because I do think when I work with a lot of men, you know, I've worked with way over 10,000 guys over the last 5 years, and a lot of guys think it's just about, you know, I just can't sort my shit out. I just can't do this. You got to fucking step up, because it's not just about you.
Yeah.
It's about those kids.
People around you, yeah,
it's the fucking kids.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? They're looking up to you. Okay, they're looking up to what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're reacting.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very honest with my big 2 kids. I share every struggle that I've ever had mentally with them. You know, I'm starting to see the early traits of my son going through overthinking and insecurities. So I'm open and talking with
That's it. Early intervention, straight in there.
Straight in. Understand
100%.
Self-awareness. Do you know what I mean? My daughter's gone through counselling for 4 years, and she understands she's going to be a counsellor when she's older, because she struggled with mental health through school. So it is rife. And if we are not leaders to ourselves, how can we possibly lead those people around them? So, you know, our slogan is always lead you to lead them. Yeah. You know?
It's very true. I mean, it's it's very true. And obviously, you know, I had a very similar situation to obviously your childhood too. Obviously, my mum and dad separated obviously before my dad passed away. And then obviously years later, my mum, you know, got another partner. Didn't like him at all. Again, you know, quite a bit of a bully. didn't care for anything, you know, just took everything for granted, never showed any care, never showed any love. And as I got older, because he was always around me in the house, as I grew up, I started to adopt his mannerisms, started to sound like him, started to sort of act like him. And while trying to sort of, those teenage years are so difficult, it's such a confusing time. And then to add the cherry on the cake, it's like, well, I don't know who actually I am, because obviously I'm seeing myself emulate this guy that I absolutely detest. I didn't have my dad around as much as I'd wanted to see, like, well, that's, you know, I am a chip off the old block, you know, apple don't fall far from the tree sort of thing. So it was difficult for me too to actually work out who I am and who I was, and it's just made, I think, but I'm glad that sort of happened, because I think if I didn't have that sort of adversity growing up, I don't think I would have been as strong as I am now, sort of thing. So is it bad luck or is it good luck? You know what I mean?
Well, it's obviously always bad luck first, isn't it? Like, I think I would much rather have my dad around.
Of course,
but then if my dad was around, I'm sure there would have been another problem.
Yeah.
Whether it's being bullied, whether it is like being screwed over, or whatever. Like, life is full of curveballs and
For sure.
full of scenarios and full of stories. Everybody's got a book to write. Everyone's got a story. And I think the way that we evolve as humans, as guys especially, everybody's got a story about why they can't show up. Everyone's got a story about why they can't reach their potential. And that story and how you evolve and how you show up when your back's up against a wall really determines how successful you're going to be in your life.
For sure.
You can either consume that story and wallow in it and feel that self-pity.
100%.
Or you can stand the fuck up and go, do you know what? I'm gonna evolve. I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna overcome, because that's what I'm gonna show my kids we do when we face that adversity.
100%.
You know what I mean? And I think you've got two choices. There is those two choices. You can wallow in your story, or you can change the story. And to change the story, we've got to be more self-aware. We've got to build our skill set. We've got to build our mindset. We've got to change our attitude, and that means hard work. That means doing things you don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A role model is not coming back from work screaming and shouting about your fucking job that you're lucky to have. Like, there's so many people unemployed when there's a great woman waiting for you at home. Do you know what I mean? And then sitting down, like, with a beer, watching Netflix and not playing with the kids.
Yeah.
It's about working on yourself so that you can transition from work to be present, help around the house, make a positive influence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And make the difference for the next generation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously with everything you just said there, did you feel like you had that mindset before you obviously, you know, joined the Royal Marines, or did you feel, do you know what I mean? Did it sort of go into each other, or did you sort of learn a lot from?
I didn't. I had fuck all life experience before joining the Marines. I was just, do you know what? I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I literally run away and joined the Marines, mate. So like, wow. I went. So let's fast forward. I left school. I didn't do very well at school. I most definitely had ADHD. I didn't get any GCSEs. Come out with nothing. I went to college. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was on a travel and tourism course because I know that I wanted to travel the world. That was a waste of time. Then I went into the only benefit was I was the only bloke in there, and there was like about 17 other girls in there that I think were going to go on to be stewardesses. So I was like,
happy day. Yeah, played a card there, mate. Yeah.
That was the only outcome there. But anyway, I then evolved and did fucking labouring jobs and shit jobs, and then I went back to college and I did a hospitality and catering management course. And I felt like I really had a sense of purpose then. You know, I went back to college, I think about 19. And I really felt like I was doing something. I come out of that and then went through the fast track McDonald's management scheme. And out of 200 people that applied, I was the only person to get a job out of the 200.
Wow.
Which was, you know, they were very, very strict. I was on a fast track to go right through the company and get to the very top. And initially when people go, oh, it's fucking McDonald's, it's actually not a bad career path. They're very good with, you know,
sure.
In terms of management skills, training, investment in you, they spent thousands on me, like, you know, and I went through very quickly. My store manager was never there, so I was pretty much running my store. And as a 22-year-old running a £6 million store with like 200 staff, it's a lot of responsibility.
For sure, yeah.
But I felt hollow is the only way to be able to describe how I felt. And I felt really hollow going into the work. I was standing at the back of the store watching all the operations going, there's something more. There is something fucking more.
Not enough passion there for you.
There's nothing here for me. Like, the money was great, the prospects were great, the life was great, and, you know, I was with my girlfriend at the time. we were talking about like kids, we were talking about marriage, and I was just like, oh my God, it's all fucking too much. And then I watched a film called Black Hawk Down. You ever seen it?
Yeah.
And I went to the cinema, and before the film started, there was this advert and this kit, and it's like full of Royal Marines, and it's like he's sprinting through, goes through the tunnel, he gets snagged in the tunnel, comes out the other side, and the Royal Marines like, compose yourself, good lad, off you go. And I was like,
sold. Straight out the cinema.
I mean, and whilst the film was on, I was going, yep, and like there were people getting shot, blown up, and I was going,
that's a bit of me. Yeah.
Like God has sent me to
sent
me here. I'm not even religious, but the universe has sent me here to show you what you need to do next.
Yeah.
15 months later, I walked out my job. I walked out of life. I almost walked away from my girlfriend, who, which we'll come on to, and I just joined up the route. I just joined, and it was like a duck to water. I was like,
loved it.
I trained every day for it. I trained for 8 months. I trained 3 or 4 times a day. Do you know, I was smashing out like 80 press-ups in like a minute and 20. I was like fitter than I've ever been, right? And I got there, and to win in training in Royal Marines, you got to be fit. You got to have that mentality.
Yeah, for sure.
I just took it.
Just loved it.
Just loved it, mate.
Mate, I was going to crack the biggest dad joke. You weren't loving it at McDonald's, but you loved it in the Royal Marines. I had to say that. Sorry. Don't hold me to that. I had to say it. But no, mate, that's an incredible story. And obviously, straight into the Royal Marines. And then how long were you in there for?
So it would have been about 8.5, 9 years, I think, something around that. So basically, I came out in 2011. I had a great career. I had a really great career. I remember my my corporal in training saying to me, if you want to have a successful career in the Marines, you've got to go out and get it. It's not going to happen for you. Because what can happen is in your first year, you go to a unit, a fighting unit, and that's really cool there. Then after that, you sometimes end up getting sent off for guard duty up in Scotland. There can be some really shit drafts, you know. And then I remember that same instructor was a sniper. He went off and did his sniper course whilst I was in training. And he come back and he was telling us all about it. I was like, I want to be there's 2 things I want to be in the Royal Marines. I want to be a fucking sniper, then I want to be a physical trainer. And the chances were very low in terms of percentage of that happening. Okay. And then the sniper aptitude come up on the notice board in our company. I was like, let's go. Got on there. So I passed my aptitude, went on to the course, and I passed the course, and it's nails to pass the course. I think there was about 4 of us out of 12. So it's really, really specific in terms of skill set, field craft, map reading, shooting. And I learned so much. You know, I just wanted to be special forces.
Yeah.
Like the plan was always to go on and be like special forces. So I did that sniper training team, and then went to Afghanistan as a 6-man sniper team.
Wow.
And that was a great experience as well.
How long were you out there for?
I think it must have been about 4 or 5 months, something like that. It was right at the very start. It was 2006. Come back, then went on to sniper training team for 2 years to help on the team and build snipers as well, and help with the main instructors and stuff like that. And then I got an opportunity to go on my physical training aptitude, which is like they want to see if you've got potential to go on a course. Now, this is an 8-month course where you just get
basted.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
You just get hammered. You get obviously taught how to coach, how to get the best out of people.
Sure.
But you have to be physically, mentally, and emotionally
a dog.
Yeah, 100%. And when you come out, they reckon you're in the top 3% of the fittest people on the planet.
Wow.
You know, we were consuming 10,000 calories a day easily. We had to sleep at lunch, otherwise we wouldn't function until the end of the day. Anyway, went through that. That was my dream. Get my white vest. Super proud. Loved you know when you fall in love with a girl and you proper fall in love with her? That's how I felt about my job.
Wow.
And I was super connected to it. And then I got the next, just opportunities were coming in next. I got to go to Germany to ski for 3 months to learn how to become a ski instructor. I then got sent to Wales to then become an outdoor instructor. So basically I would take a lot of lads coming back from maybe deployment or from units to do adventure training, to break away from it all, take them climbing, kayaking, so I had to do all those qualifications. So I lived in North Wales for 10 months, climbed, kayaked, canoed, walked, mountain leader, just living
what an incredible life.
Living a dream.
Yeah, man.
All of this experience, and I lived with 2 other Navy lads who were absolutely brilliant. And then I worked in South Wales for about a year. my wife then at the time, who was my girlfriend when I went into the Marines, then we decided that she was going to move home back to where I've just come from today, so that her and the kids could have some stability, because I was starting to move all around. And it was a 700-mile round trip every single weekend. So 350 miles on a Friday night trying to get home down the M25. Sunday afternoon, 350 miles home for a day and a half.
A Royal Marine, you didn't run 350 miles. You didn't run it.
No,
what's wrong with you, mate?
It's just like, just give me some time off with the backpack.
Yeah.
But then I was challenging myself and going, I grew up without a dad. That I'm alive, but I'm not present. Do you know what I mean? And then these started, because when I joined, I didn't have kids. And then I was like, I can't do special forces. If I'm going to do special forces, it's going to be away 10, 11 months of the year. And I want to be a present father. And I think this is where my father died, right? I wanted to have an impact on their lives. So I made the very difficult decision that I was going to leave.
Yeah. So was that tough to have that decision? Were you sort of?
Honestly.
Hardest one?
Hardest one. One of the hard. I knew it was the right thing, but it's kind of like, it's like when you say to the girl you fall in love with, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, that's the cliche. Yeah,
no, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
But walking away from the Royal Marines, I think will be the single hardest decision I have probably ever had to make.
Really?
Within my life. There's a couple of other parallel with it, but I think like I had the dream job. I had all the lads, the camaraderie. I was proud. I had purpose. I was planning to stay in for my full 22 years. I had my vision. I had my direction. But I also had two kids that needed a dad. My son needed me. My daughter needed me. And they were very young. They were 5 and 7. So they were around the combined age of when my dad died.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't look in the mirror and be like, God, I miss them. And like Zoom and all that wasn't really like thriving back then. It was Skype and it was shit connections. But it's not talking to someone through a FaceTime is not cuddling them, is not feeling them, is not embracing them, is not telling them a story.
Sure,
It's a computer relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's not the closeness that I envisage myself having for my kids.
Yeah.
Me and my kids.
Yeah. I think of a lot of people in your position, mate. I think they would have done the same thing. Obviously,
You'd be surprised.
I don't have kids. Obviously, I'd like them in the future, but that must have been a really tough choice to have. But obviously, going back to the fact that you was out in Afghanistan, and you were there for 4 or 5 months. Any difficult? Obviously, it's a stupid question, but anything you saw out there or went through, and you think, you know what, this is
not really.
What was it like?
I knew the job. So, like, I think in that way, I don't know if I'm slightly hollow or numb in my emotions sometimes. And again, when I bring it back to my dad and having to close down my emotions, maybe because of his death, maybe. But I certainly wasn't. I was kind of like non-emotional when I went to Afghanistan in that respect. And I think you kind of have to be, do you know what I mean?
The grey man you have to be, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And I very much disconnected. As soon as I got there, I still contacted home, but I very much had to try and disconnect from thinking about home.
Yeah.
I had an awful lot of reflection time while I was over there, about whether this was what I wanted to do. Because things had changed, from the minute I joined to going to Afghan, I had a daughter, 4-month-old daughter, my first daughter. So things dramatically changed. And I missed the first 4 months of her life. I missed pretty much the first 6 months of her life, which when I look back is like, I can never get that back.
Yeah.
But then, I take myself back to the cinema. That's what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? That's what I joined up for, to go and do all of that stuff. And you take the call and you go out and you do your job and you're trying to be non-emotional. You come back and you're like, is this what I want to do? But then my career took a different perspective. It went very much more into a coaching role, so to speak, if you like. And I was very fortunate with my career. I worked very hard to get on those things. But so in short, the answer is like not really. I would definitely say I felt really homesick, even though I tried to disconnect.
Really?
Yeah, I felt. But when you just had a daughter, you want to spend time with her, don't you?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, not obviously. Just even. I mean, yeah. I've going to Afghanistan, I could imagine there was a lot of things going through your head. A lot of things going through your head. I mean, you hear, you know, ex-soldiers, ex-Marines, and they've got these, you know, these really emotional, sad stories, and it just sort of like, was there, without getting too deep, were you just sort of like, I could genuinely, did you ever think about dying when you was out there at all? Did you ever think about?
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember the night I said goodbye to Kate, who's my former wife, and kissing my daughter, and then walking away and watching them drive away. I think something hit me then. I was like, I might not see them again. You don't know. I mean,
that's the thing. So I've never actually spoken to someone who's actually been to Afghanistan. So I've just got a lot of questions.
Yeah, I've just watched them drive away, and I remember lying on the bed because we weren't leaving till about 3 a.m, I think. So I said goodbye to them about 10. I remember just before I went up to go and be where all the lads were, I just remember like downpouring, like crying,
Really?
yeah. It was just a release, I think.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. Like the time we went out there, it wasn't at its heightened.
Okay.
Path. It was almost just as the main base was being built. Everything was out there, but you don't know what to expect. Anything could happen, right?
Yeah.
But it does enter your mind, and I remember writing my my death flare, if you like. So you write it. So something happens to me, and you go out and you go and patrol. You leave it on your bed.
Is that something they encourage you to do, or is that like
so.
Do you just choose to do that?
I can't remember if they encourage it or not, but I think. Like in my head, I would always hate if I didn't have those last words. And I remember writing a letter to my daughter for her wedding day and her 18th birthday and just stuff like that.
Fucking hell.
I know. And I remember,
it must have been weird to write that.
Up.
Fucking hell, yeah.
It was fun. But when I haven't really thought about it until you've asked there, actually. And I remember writing that and but you know what? Sometimes when you go out and I come to you here today, you don't know what's going to happen here. Like, what if someone run me over? Like, do you know what I mean?
Mate, I know.
And I haven't written that letter, and I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to myself, I must do a video just in case something happens. Like, because we don't know what happens. There are tragedies every single day. There are tragedies every single day. And I think when I even just immediately reflecting right now, I kind of always I think it's important to make sure that whenever we do leave anyone, and I think when we leave the house, it's always in my head, and I'm thinking, actually, I'm having an epiphany at the minute. When I leave, I'm always thinking, what if this is the last time I see them? Do you know what I mean? And it's a real heightened self-awareness way of thinking. Yeah. Like, I think because you just don't know. Mate,
you don't. I mean, you know, I found out on Sunday morning I lost a good friend of mine, actually. And I probably saw him 3 or 4 days before he died. I still haven't really processed it properly.
Can't process it in 4 days.
You can't. You know, I mean, it was. I still can't go over it really, and
things take years.
They do. It was the confusion of he was there and then he's not.
Yeah.
And even at 28, it's like
he could have just gone on holiday, but that's why your brain can't sense it, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time with people, sometimes we don't see. I see my mum twice a year because she lives right down in Devon. But in my mind, like she could God bless her when she does die.
Yeah.
To me, it will be no different because I don't see her that regularly anyway. But it's just the knowing that it's the definite, and I think we take that for granted. I think everybody feels like they've got an abundance of time.
No.
And that's the problem with a lot of people, because a lot of it is the self-awareness hack here, right? So I've got loads of time, I'm going to get round to that, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and then you blink and you wake up and someone's wiping your ass in a nursing home and you're like, fuck, where did my life go?
Yeah.
You know? And I remember being in early 20s going, oh God, I've got ages before I get 45, and I was 45 on Monday, and I was just like, fuck me, where did that go? And I've had a good life. I'm not saying I haven't, but it goes.
It goes. I mean, it's scary, you know. I think so it's my birthday Friday, a couple of days before yours, and my old mate, I've known probably my longest mate actually. I've known him since I was like 3. He went, mate, I can't believe you left school 12 years ago. And I just went, I never really thought about it like that, and I've gone.
I know.
12 years.
I left school 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And and I was a conversation. Crazy. I saw a school friend yesterday at my community office, and she was like, "I haven't seen you for 30 fucking years.
I know, it's mental. But do you know what it was? I obviously, I used to be a personal trainer at a gym, and I was this girl came in for a tour. Sales came down and said, look, there's a new girl. She's very, very nervous about joining the gym. She's never joined a gym before. Would you mind if you just obviously talk to her, take her around the gym, explain her? I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I went to meet her in the sales office, and I walked in, and this girl goes, Jack, all right? She don't remember me. I was like, I'm really sorry, I have no idea who you are. And she went, I used to go to primary school with you. And all of a sudden I was like, how have you just straight away, like, did I look like this in year 4? What is going on? It was just, you know what? It was, it was so bizarre. Like, I was like, I'm really sorry. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I don't know. She went straight away. And I thought, wow, like I felt like yesterday was at primary school. It was a weird moment. It was a really weird moment. I've not changed since year 4.
Yeah. I do find it mad. I always put it in perspective as well, and then I often talk to the people that I mentor, business owners or business leaders, and people that are running their own show, and I'm like, one day you're gonna do the golden handshake, you're gonna hand the golden pen over, and everything that you're getting stressed about right now, you won't even give a fuck about when you retire.
Yeah.
So like, I'm 15 years away from maybe possibly even thinking about it. So I kind of think in 100 years, 99.9% of the planet will be buried, gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In about 102 years, everybody that's on the planet now will be forgotten.
Wow, yeah.
Like, in terms of those memories.
For sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even the people being born right now, when they turn 100, there's only going to be a very small percentage of them. But like, in 100 years, I will be well and truly forgotten. All the stuff that I put on my Facebook page, all of the books that I've written. Do you know what I mean? It will be vanished, vamoosed, gone. Yet we get so caught up in every single day life, fucking like, fucking this and that, and overthinking this and that. And I think as I get older and a little bit wiser, I'm all about the highlight reels. So I'm all about, like, how many highlight reels can I create while I'm here?
Yeah.
Because when you're dead, like, so a couple of people give a fuck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll be remembered for a few weeks.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Hey, like, oh, James, you used to do this, and then you'll be wiped off. Somebody else will take your interest, and you start following them. But then the people behind, as time goes on, the circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller till you get to the very, very small circle, and they're the people that you live with, and people that would die for you.
Yeah.
And the people that will go to war for you, and they're the people that they'll always remember you.
Yeah.
But then when they die,
that's it.
You're gone.
Yeah. That's the thing.
You're a record.
Yeah, that's it. I wonder what age it is when life starts taking things away from you rather than giving. And I'm sure that age is different for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
quite deep.
It's very deep.
I think you have to go deep. But for me personally, if you're ever going to succeed, if you want to achieve something in your life, you have to understand all of these factors that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And people will like, oh, it's a bit morbid, isn't it?
Be a realist, yeah.
A bit fucking morbid. But this is, like, unless you understand this, you won't have the rocket fuel to want to show up.
Yeah.
If every single morning you think you've got an abundance of time, if you wake up and go, oh, fucking, there's loads of time yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are never going to win.
100%. And on my other podcast, I've mentioned, I think I procrastinated for about 7 years about what I wanted to do. 7 years. And I always thought I had, like, some sort of mild form of depression. I thought there's something wrong with me. And then I started to blame, is it because my dad passed away and all this sort of stuff. I was looking for some sort of excuse. And then when I done my first podcast here, I was a guest, and I went home, I couldn't stop smiling for the rest of the week. The rest of the week, I was in the best mood. And I was like, I think what it was that I just never went out and wanted to do what I wanted to do properly.
Yeah.
That I just disguised it and told myself I'm just depressed because everyone else seemed to have depression at the same time. It seemed to be, more exposed, and I just told myself it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do in my life. And I was taking time for granted, and I was existing rather than living.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact there is a lot of people out there that will feel depressed and will tell themselves that they're depressed, but I honestly think it's because you're not going out what you want to do in your life, and you're not seeing it every day. You're not having that feeling every day of doing what you want to do. Is that oh yeah, I'm still down, and then the second they do something they have passion for, it's just the smiles back, their moods back, their colours back, you know, their personalities back. And I do believe that there is a lot of people out there that will be in that position.
And do you know what I think the barrier is as well when you talk about that? Not everybody knows what they want to do.
Exactly.
And that's what people will come back to. I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't. Then
go try things.
The only fucking way you're ever going to find it is by going through a process.
100%.
And you might not find your purpose for 8 months. It took me 3 years to find mine when I left the military.
Yeah.
And I had to go through a process of hardship, but it starts off with little things. We call them the 1% wins. Every day, forever. And if you show up and you find your 1% win every day to the day that you die, you're on a journey. The minute you decide not to and you go back to that story that you tell yourself, remember the two options, you wallow in your story or you change the story. And the 1% is what slowly shifts the mindset. And you might have to go through 3 months of just getting these little wins. And then all of a sudden there's a big fucking win, you know. And here's a prime example. So let's talk about exercise. Everyone's always like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. I'm a big fucking corporate dude, or I've got kids. It's like, fuck off. You've got 1 hour. You've got 1 hour a week minimum out of 168 hours to train.
Yeah.
And you could do like 6 10-minute workouts in a week.
Yeah.
You spend 10 minutes taking a shit. You could do 10 minutes fucking doing squats, press ups, or sprinting on the spot.
100%.
Just for example.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you could do 3 20-minute workouts a week. If you did 3 20-minute workouts a week until the day you died, would your life be better? Fucking right it would.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about having that journey. You're going on this process, and then suddenly you're craving, like, I feel like I'm ready for more. Like, I want something different. You know, I've been working on myself. I want to voice my journey. So maybe I'll start a vlog. Maybe I'll start a podcast. Maybe I'll become a coach. And then suddenly you're on a course to learn how to do a podcast, to become a coach. And then suddenly you go, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to fucking go all in on this. And then next thing you know, you're a fucking coach. You're a coach to thousands of people. And if you don't think that can happen, then watch my journey over the last 10 years, because that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
And if I can do it, fucking hell, you know, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, and that was my mentality, because I fell into a 3-year rut, like to the point where I was seconds away from killing myself, like after the military, because I come out of the military where I had purpose, direction, I had a way of life, I had friends, I knew what I wanted, to nothing.
To nothing, yeah.
And I didn't know what was going on.
What made you not?
So when I left the military, I left in 2011. And for the first 4 months, I knew something was not right. I was breaking out in cold sores. I was constantly ill. My mind was like, what the fuck is going on with my brain? I was aggressive, drinking. And what I didn't know, I was going through PTSD, and I didn't really know what PTSD was. And it was nothing other than change of lifestyle, change of, like, you know, the way that I lived my life.
Yeah.
Fast forward 18 months, I was divorced. I was drinking heavily. I really just did not show up as a father, even though I left the thing I loved the most to come home. Maybe I was slightly like, did I make the right choice? I was lost. But what really happened is I didn't take responsibility for myself. It's my fault. Completely my fault. It's my fault that the marriage broke up. It's my fault that I wasn't there as a father. It was my fault that I didn't have purpose, because I didn't take responsibility of it. I allowed myself to bury my head in the sand, and allow myself to go through a period of 3 years of not taking responsibility for me. And it all got to a point one night, and it was very dark. It's quite dark. Like, you know, it was November. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. I had the light on, and financially I was fucking ruined. Okay, I took a 16k pay cut to come and work at a local college, which I fucking hated.
Yeah.
So money was really tight. I could only put the heating on when the kids were there, when I had half the week. We were living off Tesco value baked beans. You know, I was like, mate, there was some days when I couldn't even afford a higher tog duvet for the evenings because I was freezing. Yeah. Anyway, it got to this one night, and the lampshade and the light was on. The lampshade come off, and it was very open, and there was a picture of my kids on there, and I was sitting there, and I got all these high-powered fucking painkillers, which I think my mum had left behind because she struggles. And I got them all out and a bottle of Jack, and I was just like, do you know what? I'm gonna smash all of these down, and I'm gonna smash as much of this booze down, and I hope I'm gonna fall asleep, and that'll be it.
That's it. Yeah.
And that was the plan. Like, I didn't know if it actually was going to kill me, but like I certainly knew that there was a lot of stuff here that would hopefully just knock me out.
Yeah.
And nobody would know. You know, I don't think I was due to see anybody for a couple of days and just fucking gone. And then I was sitting there, very lonely. It's quite dark. I'm crying, and I'm just looking at the kids, going, "Fucking, I deserve more." Like, and then I start thinking about my dad. So again, everything's coming back to the origins of my dad. Like, my dad, like I felt really upset. My dad lived an unhealthy lifestyle that allowed him to have a heart attack. And I know that health wasn't huge in the early 80s. You know, he stressed, he smoked 40 a day, he drank, he lived a stressful lifestyle. And as I was trying to unravel and sort myself out, I was having a little bit of counselling. And I remember leaving my first counsel session going, "Why did you leave me? Why did you leave me? Like, this is all your fault." And God, this came deep. And then I looked at the kids and went like, I have the decision not to leave the kids. Yeah. Get out the house, go. And I got out of the house and I went walking and I went running, and I just, you know, I was meant to just go for a half an hour run. I was out for 3 hours. I remember seeing the milkman on the way home. And when I got home and I walked through the front door, I'd almost forgot the scene that I left behind. And like this black cloud, for the first time in about 2 years, just disappeared.
Started to go.
It just went, and I just felt like, because I had been crying and I'd been reflecting and I hadn't been done any of this. And that really was day zero of the new me, the new version of me, of what I was about to become. I put all the pills away, threw them all away, pulled the fucking Jack away. And I don't think I drank again for at least like 8 months. And then I just went back to work, and I was like, I need to work on myself. I need to do something every single day. I need to get back to fitness. Fitness is a thing that almost, I would say, saved my life. I started running again. Every time I craved a drink, I'd have this little thing called a detox route, which was like a 4 or 5K run. So every time I was craving, I'd go and do the run. When I was at home. And sometimes I was running that route, no shit, 5 times a day. I would get up in the morning, if I could smash it, get home, and be like, God, I need a drink. Because I drank so much. Yeah. But it was the distraction, and I was so exhausted. And when I'd done exercise, I didn't feel like drinking.
Oh, you don't? Yeah, I couldn't imagine anything worse. Yeah,
so it was almost a thing that I had to force myself to do, and it was forcing discipline back in my life. So I was going back to my roots as a military man and going discipline, structure, routine, systems. And this is the very early foundation of what I teach a lot of the guys today. But I didn't obviously realise that these were teaching. And then in 2013... July the 13th, 2013, I left college after an altercation with them. And it was the university's way of going, this is your new opportunity. So at the same time, I'd been doing what you do, a little bit of side PT. And I went all in on my entrepreneurship. And this was what I was looking for. This was the purpose. And so to give you some example, I was doing about £6,000 a year, like on my side hustle, and I obviously need more than that to pay the bills. So I was like looking at losing my house. And within a year, I was watching YouTube, how to learn to run a business. I was pushing my boot camp, and I remember doing my first year, my accountant said, you've done £117,364. And he goes, that's some growth in a year. Now, the way that I lived my life for that first year, I would not recommend to anybody, because when I wasn't with the kids, I was working 18-hour days. I was surviving. Yeah. But I was fucking hungry. I had found this newfound like hunger and passion and drive to help people fitness-wise. I was meeting new friends. I was meeting new people. I was finding new futures. I was becoming obsessed with success and the shiny objects. And I was hungry for life again, you know. And that was by showing up. Just showing up. I know something's going to come. I know, and then the passion was, I want to change people's lives. Yeah. And that was it.
That's the thing, mate. You know, and it's an incredible story, because I hope that inspires people now to push and work hard, because I feel like No one's got any good work ethic anymore. I don't feel like it's no fault of their own, but I feel like kids today are so entitled, but they've been put in a world where there's just instant gratification. You know, you want anything, it's there.
Yeah.
You want to buy something, it's there. Yeah. Order food, it's there. You know, and even the idea of contactless, you don't have to get cash out anymore. It's just tap straight away. You pay for something, and I feel like
it's a different breed.
Yeah,
there's a different like from like when I was a 15-year-old, there were no phones, right? So there was no TikTok. There was no Facebook, Instagram. There was no YouTube channel becoming a YouTuber. Yeah. And I think the way that the world has evolved, I think you're right. And I don't think it's right across the board. It's not everywhere, but it's a certain high percentage of snowflake mentality.
100%.
You know,
if
I turn around and said, mate, start fucking showing the fuck up. If you want to change your story, change your life, go and change it.
You can't say that. You've hurt his feelings.
You can't fucking talk to me like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, mate, fuck off.
Yeah, like, you're not for me.
You're not going to change.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a military thing. But when I coach people and what you're talking about, when I speak to people, I am sympathetic, but to a point where
there's level.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, and when I speak to kids today, when I was teaching at the college, and all they want to do is piss up, chat, fuck, smoke weed. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, like how do I invoke my mentality on them? And you can't do it with words. You can only do it with actions. And that's why I think, and we come back to this, as fathers and mothers, if they're listening, that's where we role model. We show, we don't tell.
Yeah.
We show how to do it. So my son is 16. He's going through what I would consider his first block mentally. So he's hungry to be an NFL player. He's he's really fucking good.
Yeah.
Really good. We've got Great Britain trials in November. And I've been trying to get him off the floor, like to get him motivated and driven. And unless he does, he's going to miss his opportunity. I have to take the emotion out of that and go, this is going to be a life lesson for you if you don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think kids are going to learn, and this is where we have to have definitive boundaries, but also acceptance in terms of us. I accept that maybe the majority of this generation don't necessarily understand what work ethic is, but they're soon going to fucking learn.
Yeah, the hard way.
The hard way.
Yeah.
And I always believe that the way that we learn is by failing. Like, we can tell a lot about somebody when they're in a period or chapter of failing, because actually we learn most about ourselves when we fail.
Yeah.
When your back's up against the wall, how do you show up? And we have to fail to build character. Like, you lost your dad.
Yeah.
You've lost your mate. You've gone through things. I've gone through like huge fucking life experiences that have made me the character that I am today.
Yeah.
The strong internal character. Do you know what I mean? And I think that failure defines your character. It defines your success. It
100%.
defines how much your work ethic is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think everybody, every single kid, every single adult, every single man or woman is on a journey. And if you really want it, you'll go and get it.
Yeah, 100%.
If you don't, you will die with your potential left on the shelf.
That's the problem, mate. I don't think kids are even putting themselves in positions and giving themselves opportunities to fail. It's just, well, I just want to make money. Yeah, I know. You know, because they see these YouTubers, they see these influencers. It's like, yeah, but what are you? If Instagram in 10 years isn't around, what are you going to do? You know, they're not even willing to fail anymore. They're not. I don't like some of the kids I used to sort of train in the gym. I didn't know what they were doing. It was, you'd sit there, you'd go up to them, you talk to them, you go, right, what are you trying to achieve today? Well, I want to learn how to train triceps. Okay, so you show them, and they just. I'm not even joking. I was talking to this kid in the gym. I was helping him train triceps, and as I was talking to him, he's pulled his phone out. I said, right, okay. I started walking off, and he was like, he said, you're not going to help me? I said, no. And that is unfortunately what...
Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think it's come along for him to think it's okay to, when someone's talking to him, they can look at their phone?
It's got to be their friends or their parents.
The people that are around.
The people that are around.
The people that were around.
Yeah.
And again, shows the importance of being around the right person. Because if I was with a mate, if you and me were at the gym and you got your fine out while I Pete it, I'd be like, Jack, mate,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Come on, man.
I fucking pull you up on it, right?
Yeah, I'd feel embarrassed, you know what I mean?
You'd be cringe.
Yeah,
but I definitely would be pulling my mate up and going, what are you doing?
What you
That's
doing?
so fucking rude.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, we'd just accept it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember doing this video on how do we leave people behind? How do we change? So what puts people on the same level as each other? So it's the same mentality. So it's usually a fixed mentality, same belief system that they have, same maybe background that they have. And what will happen is that somebody will have this epiphany. So it could be somebody dying. It could be a parent losing a job. It could be a friend passed. Something happens and they go, I don't want to live my life the way that I'm living it right now. So how do I change that? Okay, I'm gonna study a course, or I'm gonna start training, or I'm gonna change the system. And what ends up happening, you disconnect from that group slightly, and then you start progressing up here, and you're getting gypped from your mate. What are you doing that for? Oh, good luck with that diet. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Like, yada yada yada. They then end up growing. Then it becomes quite bitter, because what's being left behind are those people, and then suddenly you have jealousy, bitterness. And they're watching somebody else grow that used to have the same beliefs. And now all of a sudden, as they've broken away, they start to see, actually, I don't want that mentality anymore. There's more to life than what they're doing. And then all of a sudden, you've separated yourself from those people, right?
That's it, yeah.
And this is the thing that I always tell my kids, especially my older two, be around people that would go to war for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think if you're not around, if you look around you and go, would Eva back me up? Like, if we had to go to war, would he be behind me, or he or she be behind me? And if they're not, then why are you around them?
Yeah.
Because they're going to pull you up if you pull your phone out in front of someone and say, dude, that's not right. Do you know what I mean? They're going to say, you shouldn't be drinking as much. Or if you want a big business, go and fucking do the work. What are you doing here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the same. Obviously, I've played football all my life. I used to play semi-pro and stuff, and you know, some of my coaches I've had over the years was like, you have to play people better than you.
Yeah.
You have to play people better than you to understand the levels.
Yeah.
And it's the same with almost your friends. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm lucky enough to have quality and quantity, and there's genuinely not one of my friends where I don't think you're going anywhere in life, mate. Like, I don't think you are. And without sounding horrible, you don't want to be like, you don't want to call them a loser, but it's like you're actually bringing me down.
Yeah.
You know, and it's naturally, if you go what you want to do, they'll, like you said, they'll stay there, and naturally you'll have that breakaway. And if they never contact you again, it's just like, well, 100%. That was the right path.
100%. You know, a really good example of this is I love my jiu-jitsu, and
I saw you compete the other day.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. How'd you get on?
Yeah, I got gold. Got gold
days.
in one of them, and then I lost my. So they do an absolute where they have people from every weight and every belt. So I didn't win that one, but what's really interesting is that we have the 9 o'clock group. We call it the Breakfast Club, and that group of guys there are absolutely brilliant. And I wanted a little bit more. I was like, I want to compete. I want to see. I want to push myself. And so I ended up doing this early morning early morning session, and they're called the Salty Seas. So it's like Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, 6 o'clock, and these guys are competing pretty much every competition, and they're like savage, savage guy, like they're really good. So you basically go there and it's drills and rolling. You know, there's not much rest. It's hard. First 4 weeks, I felt like an imposter syndrome. Yeah. But I finished my competition, and I don't think I would have done that competition if I didn't have the belief system of these guys, because they're like, let's go, stop whining, stop moaning, let's go. And they're pushing me. And that is a great example of being around a group of guys that are pushing the standard. You get sucked into that world, and suddenly I've got the same beliefs, same growth mindset, not fixed. And now we're going, and I've just signed up to another 2 comps, and we're talking about going to Vegas next year to do the Worlds. Wow. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like all of a sudden, my levels are going up. I'm studying B-roll of my jiu-jitsu sessions, the one that I lost, going, I did that wrong. I never would have done that before. So suddenly everything's heightened because I'm around the right people.
Sure.
Same in business, right? I surround myself. That's what I'm going to do later tonight and tomorrow. Going to do the mastermind, be around those people that I mentor and coach. When I'm around those people, everyone elevates their performance. Everyone. Because it's like energy. Yeah. Energy. What I don't want is, fucking Sylvia again. Like, fucking, you know, she's fucking moaning at me.
Yeah.
Like, I never,
Yeah.
you're always saying I don't do anything. It's because you don't, you dick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't support your wife. You don't fucking show up for her. You drink too much. You are out of weight, out of shape. You know, you don't pay enough attention to your kids. Do you know, it's draining. It's fucking draining when people moan and complain.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
It's exhausting.
It's
Like,
exhausting.
as soon as somebody starts, I'm just like, I fucking can't listen. And even being, you know, I was on the train on the way up here. Even I'm moaning now, the irony of it. But it is, you listen to it, and I just have to put my earbuds in.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I do believe, you know, there's some people that will always do it for the rest of their life, mate. They'll never achieve what they want to achieve. There's always an excuse for everything.
Do you think we're moaners by moaning about those people? They're moaning.
We have a right to moan. we have every right to moan. Don't you? But no, it's for me. It's I think what it was from having, you know, difficult childhoods, obviously losing a father and stuff like that. I think when someone moans about something so stupid, I go, what are you on about? But then I feel I'm that when I'll moan about something like, oh, you know, train's delayed 10 minutes. And I go, there's kids out there that just get like, I mean, you look at Palestine and Israel thinking, what have I got to moan about?
100%.
What,
look at
you know what I mean?
Ukraine war. Like,
exactly. So it happens. It's all, you know, we moan about, I know, exactly. And, you know, I know everyone goes, yeah, but it's in relation to you. It's big, yeah, but like, I try not to do that where I moan about something so stupid. Like the other day, it sounds so bad. I bought a pasta box from the co-op, and I bought it, and I went, oh, I've got my fork, and I ran in to go get it, and I said, oh, have you got any fork? Oh no, we haven't got any. Why'd you sell the pasta then? I can't eat it now. And honestly, I was in a foul mood for the rest of the day. I thought, I can't eat this. It got warm. It got warm in the car, and then I was like, well, I can't eat that. I had to throw it out. It was grim. I was livid all day, and then apart from it, I went home and I saw some news about Russia and Ukraine. I thought, yeah, like, do you know what I mean? It could be a lot worse.
Honestly, when you master self-awareness, so this is something I've really put a lot of work into myself this year, is high levels of self-awareness. So before you open your mouth and before you go down a funnel of thought process, like, just fucking stop a minute, like, and go, is it worth the moan? Like, is it worth the energy? Is it worth the time, energy, and so if you're spending time, energy, and focus moaning about a pasta pot, and actually it's £3, I just fucking go. I'll just buy a sandwich. Do you know what I mean? Or like, and there's some kids who never in their life will ever even get the privilege of seeing a pasta pot.
I know.
Do you know? And when you bring yourself back to that level, that state, you can really be grateful for life. And I think this is where practicing gratitude comes in. Like every single morning, we have this little mnemonic. So I do a morning routine, and part of the mindset part is RPG, so it's like reflection, perspective, and gratitude. So reflection on where I've come from, where I am, and where I'm going. Perspective on all of the maybe morning negativity or chimp talk. Putting that, the perspective is the water putting out the fire, like where you overthink. And then the gratitude is the anchor that stops you complaining about the pasta pots or the train being late. Do you know what I mean? When you kind of think to yourself, fucking hell, there would be a young 18-year-old Ukrainian soldier scared out of his life, waiting to be bombed in fucking Ukraine. Yeah. And like, do you know what I mean? And I have the privilege of walking down the promenade here to be able to work on myself and sitting in a camping chair, delivering content on a phone that I'm able to deliver. You go to that depth, and I think that comes as you get older. You appreciate things a lot more. Yeah. And our minds always do slip into that judgmental, moany mentality.
It's natural, yeah.
You can't, you can never stop it, but you can master it. Yeah. So as soon as you catch it, is what I call it. You flick the switch inside of your head, right? Yeah. And it's like when you're in a situation where you need to show up, you can flick the switch, and it can change the outcome, because often our behaviours and our actions are dictated by the emotions, right? So if we master the emotion, the behaviours and the actions become positive. They don't become negative. So you've got to catch it at that first hurdle. That's self-mastery. And I think that when we don't, the behaviours become negative and the actions become negative. So, for example, if you go home and you've had a really terrible day and your boss has been on your back and something hasn't gone your way, and you don't control those emotions and go, why do I feel like this? You walk through the door and your behaviours are shitty. You then become a dick to your wife. You're then not paying attention to other people. You crack a beer, you sit and watch Netflix, you just go, fucking my life is shit. And actually, well, your wife has been, maybe your wife's had a bad day. You don't even ask her. Maybe a kid has been bullied at school or fallen over. Maybe they've been waiting all day to see you, and you come home and be a dick. And that's why it's your responsibility to be able to master those emotions. Because if you don't, I'm telling you, your wife won't put up with it forever. And I've been doing this job a long time, and I have spoke to numbers of guys who have let their marriages go because they didn't show up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Nice. I mean, I couldn't agree with him more, mate. Like, honestly, like, it's very true. Obviously, is there coming towards the end of the podcast now, wrapping up. In terms of, obviously, you know, I always like to sort of have a question about men's mental health, because I do think it is still a serious problem. I mean, it will always be. It's the biggest killer between men, you know, 18 and 50. It's you know, I've had a friend take his own life. I've had 4 or 5 friends, you know, come up to me and say they've had suicidal thoughts. It's just it's happening a lot, and I don't think people realise how serious it is. You know, have you lost any friends, or have you had any friends? Obviously, I know you spoke about yourself, you know, being suicidal, but have you ever lost anyone close to you? So no, I haven't have committed suicide. I've had friends of friends that have and stuff like that, and I've, you know, there were, I guess there was one incident. Yes, I think it was my former wife's cousin, I think. Anyway, he had a situation, left 3 girls behind. So that I guess there is when I go into thinking about it, and there's probably more if I went into it. I think suicide is that way out, right? It's kind of like when everything's building up. I think the awareness of mental health over the last 10 years for men has improved. There's still an awful lot of work. There's still a lot more, yeah. And the way that I look at this, and this is just a personal opinion, I'm not sure if everyone really thinks on that. And I think we also do have our own responsibility to make sure that if we're having those thoughts, that we do something about them. Do you know what I mean? Because I think with suicide, on the ugly side of suicide, although it is ugly, then that person passing, if there are people around, kids, wives, family, friends, there are all of those people that drastically are affected by that death. And it's quite sad, because the people that commit suicide probably don't realise that they're loved so much by so many different people because of the state of their mind. You get yourself in. I remember when I did it, I thought, no one's going to give a fuck about me going. I'm just going to be a number. And actually, there probably would have been like I've got 2 kids there that would have spent the last, 11 years without their father. I would have had no impact on them whatsoever. They would have, my dad committed suicide 10 years ago, 11 years ago. That's it, domino effect. They don't do anything with their lives. They use that as an excuse. And then it's going to be the same as what I did with my dad, right? Everything's kind of coming back to it. And, you know, that suicide becomes that state of mind, because you start thinking of worst case scenario. Can't go in. There's no way out of this for me. No one cares about me. That's the sad thing. They do something permanent for something that's temporary. 100%. And it's And I often think sometimes, because it's so emotionally, you have to be in that state of emotions that actually, I wonder how many people, if they could come back, would regret what they did. Yeah. Very true. I wonder if they actually go, you know what, no, I'm glad I did it. Or in that process, 100%. And I don't think there would be many. And I think sometimes if you could just, I remember being in that room, I remember trying to begging myself to get out of that house, get away from that situation. And I realised that when I come back and when I reflected, I've gone into deep reflection about that night, and I was in such a state that I just had to get away from it. I had to get away from that environment. I had to go running. I had to go walking. I had to like clear your head. And it is tough. And it's tough. But it's not that moment right there. It's the build up probably over the last 6 months to 12 months that we need to be paying attention to. Yeah. It's not that in that moment. Because when you get to that moment, that's a build up of 12 months of feeling low about yourself. Yeah. Finding it tough. And going through the hardships, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you're lost, feeling like no one loves you. That's where we need to capture the suicide. Yeah. In that big process. That's where we need to do the work. A lot of the work that I do with men is about instilling self-belief, instilling self-awareness, instilling perspective, instilling fire and passion and purpose.
to enjoy life. Do you know what I mean? And see it as a gift, and see it as an honor to, like, you know, the chances of us being here are like 1 trillion to 1 or something, and going, I've got this life and I'm going to make something of it. But not just me, I'm going to show my children how to make the most of their life, and I'm going to support it with if I can, with my partner. And if we can just find that happiness for guys, do you know what I mean? I think if we can find something that makes you happy, something that makes you wake up and go, I don't feel hollow. You know?
That's the thing. I do think, obviously, there's things, well, there seems to be a lot of pressure on men as well. I think at the moment, I think it's like
provider.
Yeah,
trying to be the provider,
100%. Right? And it's also oh, men should speak out, men should definitely cry, men should do this. And then when men speak out and men cry and men let their emotions go, it's like, well,
you're weak.
You should this. So constantly, it's like, you know, toing and froing with should I do this? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I not? Rabbit in the headlights. You know, one bad experience in life, one bad incident, and then they go, well, I can't take this anymore.
And this is where it's so important for us as role models that we teach our kids to have that self-assurance that it's all right to cry.
Yeah.
Like I reckon I must, like, on average, I must cry maybe 2 times, 3 times a week, and that's letting a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
I always see us crying as a cleansing of the soul.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Of stuff that's built up, pressures that are built up, maybe things that I've allowed to build up. And I'll put some music on that I know will trigger me. And it's almost like having a cleanse. And I go, oh, I feel fucking lighter now.
Yeah.
And I'll share that on social media. Like, I'll tell people that I cry because I want people to see vulnerability as a strength.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable, sometimes even being weak-minded, happens. We're fucking human beings. We're not robots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the way that the brain works. And if we can't be strong 24/7, you can't be the provider all of the time. You can't be the man of, like, and this masculinity bullshit, like, you're the fucking man in the house, you're going to be the breadwinner, put all the pressure on you. No, like, it doesn't always work like that. Yeah. Masculinity has changed over the 10 years, right? There used to be this one umbrella that all men had to almost conform to underneath it. But you have your version of masculinity. I do. Men listening on this one will have their own umbrellas about the values and qualities of a man and what that is. You get fucking ex-military guys I see on, like, to be a man, you got to be able to beat the fucking shit out of the other guy.
Yeah,
like,
mate, these guys, they do my head in.
There's a better way to build character.
Yeah.
There's a better way. It's to show up every fucking morning. Like, start the day with a win. So when your alarm goes, get up when it fucking goes.
Yeah.
And bang, small commitment to myself. Small commitment to me. I don't struggle for time for myself. Have that first hour to yourself in a day. Then when the kids and the family wake up, man, you're going to be in a great frame of mind. There you go. You can build character that way.
100%.
So, Dad, why are you getting up? Oh, I just work on myself. I'm working on my mental, emotional things. How I'm doing. Oh, man, can I come with you one morning? Yeah, let's fucking go. You don't need to get a baton and beat the fuck out of each other with fucking helmets on, or crawl up and down a fucking hill. That's got to be a personal challenge for you, right?
Yeah.
And then when I see the American fucking ex-SEALs going, this is what men do.
Oh, mate.
Shut the fuck up.
They do my head. And it's like, I'm going to cook a steak. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's like, mate, I'm embarrassed sometimes to be a man if that's your opinions. You know what I mean? It's like, what? It's just, But
going out and having a challenge and going, do you know what, I'm going to challenge myself physically, mentally. How far can I push my body? That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But what we don't do is go, right, let's see how far we can go. Let's see how far we can push. Let's see what we've got in the tank.
100%.
Not like, you're not a man if you don't do this, right?
Yeah.
If I lost my jiu-jitsu tournament, in fact, I lost to an 18-year-old kid. But it didn't affect my ego. I was just like, fucking kid's better than me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what?
Yeah,
Good luck. You're going to be a world champion. You're fucking insane.
Mate, it could have been worse. You could have turned up and fought Tom Hardy. I mean, he's fighting at the moment.
Tom Hardy, if you're listening, let's fucking go reorgs.
That's it. He's done it. James Bourne has officially called out Tom Hardy for a fight.
I love Tom Hardy. I love his attitude.
Great guy.
The only reason why I have to beat his face in is because my wife loves him. So, like, you know,
you can't go home and you can't lose in front of the missus.
Yeah. We had this chat right? And I said to my wife, I said, "Oh God, who would you cheer for most if I come up against Tom Hardy?" And she went, "You." And and I was like,
Bullshit.
I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
You're calling out Tom, and if I lost to Tom, I think that's probably, I really would fucking have an ego. Like,
Yeah, well, 100%. But honestly, mate, like I've really enjoyed today's podcast. It's been fantastic. Again, guys, if you want to follow James on Instagram, obviously when the podcast comes out, we'll give him a tag. Head over to his page, and I'm sure you've got some amazing things in the future, mate. And one day we'll have you back on again, mate.
Yeah,
and
good. I just gonna finish, if that's all right, just by saying,
absolutely fine.
In terms of any guy that maybe is listening, in terms of they're thinking, my God, where do I go from here? I always think that the first part of improving yourself is respecting yourself. And it doesn't matter what's happened in your life to the point that where you are right now, because your life can dramatically change in 24 hours by simply picking up those small wins that we've spoken about. And respecting yourself enough to be able to do that is huge. And I've got huge respect for anyone on any journey. It doesn't have to be perfect. The outcomes don't have to happen in 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's going to take you realistically a year to have ups and downs. But as long as you remember the reason why you're showing up, and that is always to lead you first, to then lead everyone else around you, you can never fail. You can't fail. You only fail if you don't show up. That's the only reason you fail. Do you know what I mean? That's the only reason you can fail. It's the only way you can fail.
Yeah.
But if you show up every single day and your kids are looking at you and going, fucking Dad's on one, isn't he? Dad looks great. Dad's fucking pushing it. Do you know what I mean? And then your wife's looking at you and going, that's my knight in shining armour.
Yeah.
He protects me. Like, do you know what I mean? I also protect him as well. And just trust the process. Trust it to the point where you go, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Like, I've got, if you're 40 years old, you've got another 40, 50 years in the tank. Your life's not fucking over because you're 40.
Yeah.
Your life's just fucking began.
Yeah.
And it begins the minute you change the story.
That's
You
it.
either wallow in the story or you change the story. And that next chapter is always down to you and what you decide to do.
Wicked.
Okay.
Perfect, mate. Honestly, I mean, yeah, guys, if you are, again, if you are struggling with mental health and you don't know where to go, obviously our Instagram page is always open to DMs. My DMs are always open, and I'm sure James's will be as well. So take care, guys. And James, thanks again for coming on,
Anytime.
mate.
Thank you.
Smashed it. Well done,
Thank you.
mate.